Welcome to A Canadian Investing in the U.S., a podcast and YouTube channel focused on Canadians buying real estate with host Glenn Sutherland.
Well, welcome to a new episode of Canadian Investing in the U.S. This week, my guest is Carlos A. Rodrigues, or Carlos Rodrigues, it has on the screen. But Carlos, you want to start by giving everyone a little bit of a background of, real estate, life, how you progressed to where you are. We were just talking beforehand. You gave me a little bit of it to me already. But for people who don't know, like that, maybe spill it out for them.
Yeah, well, I mean, first, thanks for having me on the show.
No problem.
It's, I love doing these things. As far as my background, I've been investing in real estate for, about 15 years. In that time period, over the last 20 years, I was a financial planner.
Yep.
And, got to a point where I was looking at my real estate portfolio and then looking at my clients' portfolios, with mutual funds and segregated funds and all this other stuff.
Yeah.
And there was no comparison, right? So I kind of changed my practice to helping my clients get into the real estate market and figuring out real estate investments. But at the same time, you have those people that they don't want to step into real estate. So still help them out with that, even as misguided as I think that would be. But whatever, that's me. You can only show them the path, right?
Sorry, I had to cut you off right off the start, but we were thinking of talking something completely different, but it just gave me one question right there. So if you're going from being like a financial planner and giving that kind of advice, and then you start becoming interested in real estate, the hard part, and I think a lot of reasons that financial planners don't push real estate is because there's not a way for them to get paid. Did you find a way to make that work?
Well, yeah, I mean, typically I would be a joint venture partner,
Part of it, yeah.
in the deal, or some people just wanted to invest from a distance.
Yeah.
So I'd help them try and figure stuff like that out. There were different funds at the time that would invest into real estate specifically.
Yeah.
So that would be part of the deal as well, right? But absolutely.
Sorry, I sidelined you a little bit there. It just popped
No,
up.
no, it's a completely valid question. I mean, as a financial planner, you're essentially a salesman, right? So
yeah.
How are you going to get paid? But at the same time, you get up in the morning and it's like, this is garbage, like the with the mutual funds. And how do I look people in the face and say, oh yeah, you got to buy this stuff. This is great. Well, there's better alternatives, and in my opinion, I grew up investing in real estate. My dad was a very successful real estate agent, and my grandfather, when he came to Canada, was a Finnish carpenter, bought and sold real estate as well. So I got that sense right from a young age that there was a certain way to do things as far as investments were concerned, right? So it was just always something in the back of my mind. And then when you actually pull the trigger and you're knee deep in both camps,
yeah,
you get to see the good, the bad, and the ugly, right?
Yep, love it. Okay, so you started in not necessarily started because you're kind of doing them both at the same time. So I just sort of cut off your story. That's where I was trying to get.
Yeah, no, hey. So yeah, I was a financial planner for 20 years. I just recently sold my practice. Just got to a point where you got to be laser focused, right? I mean, you can try to do a lot of things, and I think that's how I lost all my hair, was being in multiple camps.
Yeah.
I had a mortgage brokerage as well, that I had a few people working for me for a little bit, and just came to a point where, what, we gotta be focused. And I ended up discovering real estate down in the States.
Yep.
The Midwest is pretty much where I like to focus, primarily Ohio. And just kind of over the last few years have been focused down there, helping my investors as well that now it just seems like there's this wave building of people who are more and more interested. I mean, obviously,
Yeah.
Buying a fixer-upper in Ontario now, you're putting your life savings on the line, right? So,
Yeah.
I
Not
mean,
anymore.
I mean, it was just a few weeks back that I was sitting down with an investor of mine that he still hasn't been convinced to go to the States. But we were looking at I do a lot of duplex conversions, right? Buy a
In
uh,
Ontario?
yeah,
Okay.
bungalow, buy a bungalow, turn it into a legal suite, the basement into a legal suite, or put some ADUs in the backyard or something like that. And we were looking at one property, and I mean, we ended up realizing that with the interest rates, with the prices of real estate, by the time we had bought the house, renovated it, put the downstairs unit, put the ADU in the backyard, which I mean, it was a huge property in the city,
Yeah.
and in Hamilton.
Yeah.
I mean, he would have been out of pocket almost $500,000, if not more, and we would have been splitting, a cash flow of $1,000. So all that for $1,000 a month?
Yeah.
No, that's too much risk,
Yeah.
right? So, um, anyways, obviously that deal didn't go through. But the in the States, like you probably know, I mean, you can go down there, and I mean, the last deal that I finished off was I bought two townhouses for $75,000 a piece. You know
Yeah.
what I mean? Like it's crazy.
They need
It's
reno?
very minimal. It was in a part of Cleveland, in the Coventry area. I don't know if
Okay.
you know anything about Cleveland, but Coventry
I'm
has a
learning. I'm buying my first Cleveland property on Tuesday. I've been moving
okay.
to the west side of Ohio for my investing journey in the last few years, but slowly moving over to the east side or northeast.
Nice, nice. So Coventry is on, or at least where I bought the property was on the outskirts of where the trendy area was in that area, right? In the Coventry area. Coventry has a lot of those trendy restaurants, and just it's steadily growing. So I bought on the fringes of that, and it's turning out fantastic. They're rented very quickly,
Yeah.
and very minimal kind of, it was more
Yeah.
get it rent ready, and
What kind of rents do you get for something for a 75K property there?
that one I'm almost embarrassed to say, each one was 1450 a month plus utilities.
1450 per unit? That's a home run for
Yeah,
75K.
yeah, and I mean,
Oh no,
it just
1450 per duplex, right?
per apartment, yeah.
Per apartment. So like
Well,
what,
the way that it looked, okay,
2,900 a month, or do you mean like 1,400? Like each
the
one's
house.
October 21st, we are hosting a conference in Mississauga at the Doubletree. We have some amazing speakers lined up: Brady McDonald, Quentin D'Souza, Felix Vortman, Arlen Bonin, myself, Adam Rass, Ali Ajami, Brent Green. The conference is called Canadians Investing in U.S. Multifamily. If you're looking for more information, please go to glensutherland.com/conference.
Let me just explain how that it
Okay,
looks like
all right.
one house, but it's actually they ended up registering this property, or these two properties, incorrectly. It was advertised as a duplex, but it's actually two townhouses, semi-detached,
Oh yeah, I love
right?
those. Yeah,
So 3 bedroom, 1 bath in each one,
yeah,
right? Up and down. Everybody's got a basement as well. They've got their own backyard. The one side has a garage. So
yeah.
getting 1450, it was a piece of cake.
That's awesome. Like wow, that's awesome. Yeah, no, those are my favorite properties. Is the side by side duplexes. So I'm using quotations, but the side by side ones. I find the tenants stay longer too. If you got like an up down duplex, they're like they end up pissing each other off, and
Yeah,
and they don't have their own like designated backyard and little stuff like that, right? And honestly, even when you have a duplex that's up down, you end up cutting the grass and shoveling the snow or having paying someone to do it, but whereas if you have them in a side by side, a lot of times you can treat it just like it's their own and they can do that for you.
exactly.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Bring your
Yeah,
cost.
so I mean that's the type of property that I like down there.
Yep.
I haven't ventured into the commercial real estate down there yet, simply for the fact that if there's a need to offload the property quickly,
Yep.
it's a piece of cake, right? And Cleveland being um, very popular with foreign investors. I mean, if I did
Yeah,
have competition, you might have one or two people competing with you on a really nice deal. If the numbers are really working and it's been on the market for a while, you end up with at least one competing offer sometimes. But if I am, it, it tends to be somebody from like Israel or Europe or something along those lines. It's very, very often that tends to be the case, not somebody, over here.
yeah. I wanted to get talking about our original topic, but before we go to that, because we got on this other side topic, I love it. Um, you bought a 75K duplex and you had to do a light reno. Any obstacles? Is it just been smooth sailing? Usually whenever I'm talking to people, there's some stuff they either had to figure out, didn't know, or stuff that just didn't go to plan.
Not on this property, thankfully.
Yeah.
By this property, I have my team, set up that I can go to and have confidence that things are going to work out as planned for the most part.
Yep.
It was more my very first property in Cleveland. It if there was an obstacle to run into, I ended up running into it. You know what I mean? And like for the most part, I consider myself a fairly intelligent individual, right?
Yeah.
But it's you end up you try to do the best research that you can on the particular area or the people that you're working with, but at the end of the day, it's you're testing, right?
Oh,
As you move along, and I ended up I ended up with a property manager who I had hired to manage the project that I was working on at the time, and you know, was a referral from someone who I consider, very very adept at real estate investing as well, and checked him out. I mean, it was 35 5-star Google reviews, government contracts, the whole, I mean, it was just checkbox, checkbox, checkbox. You know what I mean?
yep.
And what I didn't realize is that in Ohio, as a professional, if you're putting your services out, you have to be licensed.
Yep. Yep.
I didn't realize that down there.
Yeah,
Right?
property managers have to be attached to a brokerage.
Yeah, the
And a license. Yeah.
this guy wasn't. This guy
Okay.
wasn't. And anyway, long story short, it ended up that he was trying. He had brought in the contractor who I had met and vetted as well, and had some. He had uh, a good portfolio under his belt. Ended up that he hired this guy, gave me a price, and then tried to fire him, um, and bring in somebody much much cheaper to do the job. And I mean, it was a whole dramatic experience. Like
Yeah.
I if you want the story, I mean, like it's it's one of those kind of jaw dropping, like what that happened. So basically, I get a call from the contractor because I had met the original contractor,
Yeah.
and but didn't meet his partner. The partner's mother was in the hospital at the time, and he couldn't meet with me.
Yeah.
This becomes part of the story later on.
Okay.
Um, um, so, anyways, I get a call. I come back to Canada, and I get a call a couple of weeks later from the contractor saying, the property manager is not giving us enough money to keep the job going. I'm, now bringing money out of pocket, so to keep your job going. Okay, let me get in touch with, see what's going on.
Yeah.
End up having a conference call or trying to have a conference call with the property manager, the contractor, and myself. And rather than it being the guy that I've been talking to and seems to be the head of the the business for the contractor, I end up having the partner, right?
Oh,
So I'm
okay.
like, okay, I've never talked to this guy, and he's, oh, I'm so sorry that your project is behind schedule. My mom ended up passing away, and that's why I haven't been on the job. So I can't
Yeah.
lean into this guy for the
No,
job
not
that he's
it's
doing,
a tough
right?
one.
Yeah, you're kind of stuck. So I'm like, okay. He's like, don't worry about it. 10 days, and we'll have the job back on schedule. So I'm like, okay. We
Okay.
ended the call there basically, and I get a call later on that night from the guy that I've been dealing with this whole time. Right? Like, well, I was kind of surprised that you weren't on the call. And so, it was like, well, but your partner Frank, he ended up telling me that his mom had passed away, and that's why the job wasn't there. But anyway, things should be up and running shortly. He starts laughing. I'm like, why are you laughing?
Mm.
Your partner's mom died, and you're laughing? He's like, I don't know who you were talking to, but it wasn't Frank. So it wasn't his partner. It was somebody completely just out of the blue, that the
Wow.
property manager had brought on to impersonate the contractor. So what? Anyway, long story short, I ended up, firing the property manager, and you know, he had a bunch of cash there that I ended up losing. Um, Big investigation down there. He's basically on the run now, and turned out that this property manager was embezzling money from multiple landlords. I mean, we're talking about lawyers, doctors, people who are investing from afar as well.
Yeah.
And this guy took them all to the cleaners, basically. But apparently he's on the run. And the thing is that when you go to the police down there and you think, this is a criminal investigation that's going to happen,
Yeah.
they basically said to me, is like, well, did he have a gun to your head when you gave him the money? No, obviously not.
Oh, it's
Well,
a
then it's a civil matter,
oh,
and they won't do it. Like, well, at what point, how much money does he have to steal from people before it becomes a criminal matter, right? So anyway, that was probably the most dramatic of the problems that I've had down there. But ultimately, you learn your lesson. If you're going to work with a property manager anywhere, make sure that they're licensed, make sure that they've got the errors and omissions insurance. Your contractors as well. Ended up finding some great contractors down there after these guys, and now it's pretty much smooth sailing. I mean, you
that's
find the
good.
right property and you go from there.
Yeah. Figured out the bugs, fix the bugs, move on, do another one. Well, that's what we do, right? Like we're remote investors. And honestly, if you are always buying the properties that have no issues at all, then you probably paid too much, because usually the ones that you're going to get the super discounts are going to be the ones that keep you up at night. Um, that's what keeps me up
Yeah.
at night, is all these dealing with issue after issue. My brain just doesn't turn off. Maybe
Well, I mean, we're not investors, we're firefighters, right?
yeah, yeah, that's a good way to put it. Yeah. Anyway, I want to change gears a little bit. You sent me over your book, Property Profits. I think this would be great to talk about a little bit. So you got a book done. You're talking about in the book, 6 strategies to build your portfolio. Maybe we want to go into a bit of that. Hello, everybody. Thanks for listening to the podcast. I just wanted to let you know that I've created a new coaching program. I believe the new coaching program has way more value than any of the programs that have even existed in the past. What we've done is pre-recorded all the lessons so that you can work through it at your own pace, which is pretty cool. And then we're going to meet up on a regular basis to answer the questions, do deal analysis, and actually spend our time together working on things instead of spending our time learning things. I think this will make a seamless transition to buying in the United States and will help you solve a lot of your problems. If this is of interest to you, go to glensutherland.com/coaching. I hope to help you guys invest in the United States, and I hope we provide as much value as possible. Back to the podcast.
Well, the book's geared more for the novice investor. Okay,
Okay.
somebody who's just coming into it, might maybe they're not fully convinced on real estate as an investment, but need those little tidbits, to get them over the hump, or even to broaden their horizons as far as different avenues to take with an investment. I never personally like to go into an investment that is only going to have one strategy for exit. Right. I like to have multiple strategies just in case, it's the
Market
economy changes. Yeah, market
economy.
changes. You've got interest rates all of a sudden shooting up, whatever the case may be. Because I mean, if you're going to buy a fixer upper, for example, you're not going to be renting this out for a couple of months maybe,
Right.
and a lot can happen in that time period. So having multiple exits definitely comes.
Well, you have to. Honestly, I keep preaching that to everybody. You gotta have multiple. If this property only works as an Airbnb, that's not a good idea. They keep changing the rules. They keep changing. You have a property that only works as a lease option. It's not good either. You need to have a multiple. You don't know what, like you just said. I'm regurgitating your thing, but you don't know if a renovation is going to go out of whack. You don't know if something is going to happen. You have to pivot. Market appraisals aren't doing well, but maybe selling prices are doing well. Maybe it's the opposite way around, right? You just have to be flexible. Yeah.
So but the numbers got to work, right? The numbers have to work, and at the end of the day, you have to have a base strategy. And the book, I mean, I go into the burst strategy, arbitrage with Airbnb on a slightly, just private lending if you need, and a few others.
That's good. I think a lot of people don't realize all the strategies that even exist.
And that's the thing, right? I mean, you look at HGTV and it's the only thing I can do is flip or rent, which is not the case at all. And once you start diving into that environment, or the community, I guess, it's when I first started, I was surprised at the kind of community revolves around real estate investing. And anyways, this the book it's supposed to be an easy read.
It's I think it's 120 pages, so it's not. Well, most people listen to this and don't watch it, but it's about 120 pages thick. It's not like the thickest, like some of those books are massive. So
this is high level. It's meant to be an enjoyable read. I'll give you a couple of stories and whatnot that
let's do one.
I've gone through it in there, and how I ended up getting started. As a financial planner, I don't want to give too much away from the book.
Yeah, no problem.
Otherwise, nobody will buy it. No, no, but when I first kind of realized the power of it, even the fact that I had grown up in it, in watching real estate investors doing their thing, like through my dad and through my grandfather, you still don't get a sense of just the real power that real estate investing can have on your lifestyle. I mean, it was while I was a financial planner that I was at the time, still living with my parents, and we were living in a semi-detached property. The guy that owned the property next door was a real estate investor, and ended up talking to him. He was a principal, and anyway, he ended up having 65 units. I'm like, holy smokes.
Yeah, it's good.
Growing up, my dad had 10 properties, right?
That's still really good.
Which is still great. But then the guy, he comes with 65. That just blew the doors off of what I was expecting. And so long story short, he starts telling me about all the things, and this guy was always difficult to get a hold of. When I wanted to get he ended up actually being a client of mine later on. I ended up inheriting his life insurance policy that his mom had bought for him years prior. It was just coincidence. And anyway, always tried to get an appointment with this guy. He was always so difficult because he was traveling all the time.
Yeah.
And him and his wife would pack a bag, they'd go to Pearson, and they'd see what's good. You know,
That's awesome.
it was like looking at the menu.
That's awesome.
I got to get to there. You know, that was where I wanted to be, as far as lifestyle was concerned, right? And that's when the light bulb really kind of came on for me. And anyway, here I am.
You are.
I haven't got to the point yet where I can just go to Pearson and see, you know, what's good, but it's getting there. It's getting
there. No, it's and that's the thing is you just need to be able to travel. You need to have some time freedom. Honestly, that's the hardest part too, is as you grow this out and you get more and more properties, is unless you build something out, you're just going to end up replacing your 9-to-5 job with all your time going to managing all these properties. Even if you have property management, it's still not passive. If anyone tells you it's passive, they're lying.
Well, yeah, you know what, and correct. I mean, this has been my experience.
Yeah,
investing in Cleveland and places like Toledo and whatnot from afar, where you can't just get in your car and get be there in 5-10 minutes, right? Like,
yeah.
If I had my investments here in Hamilton, it forces you to look at this as a business, and delegate what needs to be delegated when it needs to be delegated. You know what I mean? You're acting as the CEO of your company, right? And anyways, it's been an interesting evolution in how I've done things in the past.
That's awesome. That could be a whole nother book.
That's the next one. I'm already working on it.
Oh, well, that's awesome, Carlos. If people wanted to find your book, people wanted to get in hold of you, want to see what kind of investment opportunities you have in Cleveland or wherever else, who knows where you'll expand to, right? Or maybe just keep growing out Cleveland. How do they find your book? How do they find you?
Yeah, it's on Amazon. As far as the book's concerned, just Google, just search Property Profits and Carlos, and it should come up. One of the first searches.
Yep.
Unfortunately, if you just go Property Profits, it doesn't come up for some reason.
Really?
Yeah, it's weird. But even just the title doesn't bring up the book. It's just, I don't know what's up with Amazon search engine, but you got to put my name in it.
Yeah, put your name in there too. Okay.
Yeah. And it'll come right up.
Maybe I'll try and find that, or you send me a link and I'll throw it in the show notes, and then maybe we'll shortcut the process for people.
There you go. Perfect. That'll work. As far as my contact information, there's a bunch of links in the book that'll get you in touch with me. We can have a conversation if the person's interested in doing some kind of investments down there, and we'll take it from there.
Awesome. Well, thank you for coming on the show, Carlos. Always the favorite episodes are ones where people are having an issue and solving a problem, and then people are always looking to learn, right? So I think this will be a great, a lot of interest from a lot of people.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I really appreciate your time coming on here.
Thanks for having me.
That was a nice video. Bye.